One man is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet who millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
So what you're watching is the procession that President Trump, as he left Washington, D.C., and then is coming down here, or is now here in South Florida in Palm Beach. And this was his procession leaving, which is going to be followed up by a mid-air press conference. And then you'll see him land and hold a second press conference right thereafter. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I don't know what the gremlins know. The weather is fine down here. Not really sure why it blinked off there for a second, but we're 5 by 5. And welcome to a Friday edition of the show while we're waiting for President Trump to board. And I did a little bit of time-lapse stuff so we don't have to watch everything in real time and take 20 minutes. But while he's boarding the plane as you're watching, let me just tell you what's going on. I'm going to be covering his two press conferences, the snap craziness that's going on, the lawfare, and I try to explain all of that to you so you guys get an understanding. Thanks for tuning in tonight. I promise next week my schedule will be more regular, probably because he's not going anywhere either. He should be in the White House all next week. This is a funny time. Well, not funny, but I had to speed it up to get through it so you guys can watch him go through. All the construction is, 99% done, so you shouldn't hear any boom, boom, booms tonight. But now we're going to watch President Trump as he takes off here this afternoon, and we're going to show you the gaggle that took place while he was in the sky. So that gaggle will be coming up any second as soon as the big bird is in the air. There it is, flying off. Boom, through the magic of editing, I made that real quick. Let's listen to what President Trump had to say while he was flying south to Palm Beach. All right, let's watch.
Mr. President.
Hi, how are you?
So we're heading down to Florida. I have a lot of meetings there, and lunches, meetings, a lot of things having to do with the economics of America. We took in approximately $3 trillion over the last few days from the trips that we made. They were unbelievable. The deal with China is going to be wonderful. I think it's going to be long-lasting. I got really along with President Xi very well, as you saw. You were there. Many of you were there. And I think it's great. I think it's great. I think it's really good. Are you set? Are you okay?
I'm sorry, I'm not getting any audio for this.
Okay, well, let's get it right.
All right, we have it now, sir.
Okay. So the trip was fantastic. We took in over $3 trillion, really in profit, if you want to define it that way. You see the farmers are very happy. I think it's 25 million tons, but it's numbers that they've never seen before in terms of the soybeans, in terms of other things. We have numbers coming to our farmers that the farmers have never seen before from China. Our farmers are very happy. I suggest that they go out and buy larger tractors and more land. Okay? We want larger tractors and more land because nobody's ever seen anything like it. I've given China great incentives to hold down the fentanyl, get rid of it ideally. You know, a lot of people don't know it's used as an anesthesia, it's used as a lot of things. A lot of good things happen, but unfortunately when it's developed a certain way, a lot of bad things happen. Because a lot of people would say, well, why is it made? I mean, it's made for a lot of good purposes, but it also has some very bad purposes when you design it a certain way and people can take it and design it. So China's working very hard on that. I really believe that. And they have an incentive. I'd love to get rid of the extra 10%. I put a 20% penalty on. I had a great conversation about it with President Xi yesterday. And I'd love to get rid of the other. As soon as we see that, we'll get rid of the other 10%. Other than that, we haven't cut the tariffs at all with China. But we're going to have a great relationship with them, I think, for a long period of time. If we have a smart president, we'll have a great relationship. We don't have a smart president, which is also a very strong possibility, then we won't have a great relationship. But China is, the meeting with China was incredible. The meeting with Japan, incredible. And the meeting with South Korea, likewise, incredible, all of them. And trillions of dollars are coming back to our country because of those meetings. And we have others planned with other countries, but those are big ones. And the meeting with China was one that everybody wanted. The meeting with the new Prime Minister, who's fantastic, of Japan, could not have gone better. We've worked out our deal. And South Korea, you saw the way we were treated. Our country is respected again. When they treat me with that kind of respect, they're treating our country with that kind of respect, which is much more important. And our country is respected again. Do you have any questions?
There are reports that you are considering strikes within Venezuela. Is that true?
No.
That you made a decision on that?
No, it's not true.
Mr. President, on the nuclear strikes, the nuclear tests that you were talking about, are you talking about literally resuming underground nuclear detonation tests?
You'll find out very soon, but we're going to do some testing. Yeah, other countries do it. If they're going to do it, we're going to do it.
Okay, you can't clarify whether you'll resume.
I'm not going to say yet. I mean, I know exactly what we're doing, where we're doing it, but other countries are doing it, and if other countries do it, we do it.
Mr. President, details on the FBI thwarting that that terrorist attack in Michigan that was set to happen over the weekend, Halloween weekend. The FBI.
We're catching people before they ever start. Yeah.
Mr. President, your response to Viktor Orban saying he'll ask for an exemption from U.S. sanctions on Russian oil?
He has asked for an exemption. We haven't granted one, but he has asked. Victor, he's a friend of mine. He's asked for an exemption. What else?
Mr. President, on Venezuela.
Yeah, please.
What did you talk about with Prime Minister Carney? Are you like Canada going to resume negotiations?
No, but I have a very good relationship. I like him a lot. But you know what they did was wrong. He was very nice. He apologized for what they did with the commercial. Because it was a false commercial. You know, it was the exact opposite. Ronald Reagan loved tariffs. And they tried to make it look the other way. And he did apologize, and I appreciated it. We had a great dinner, you know, with other countries, as you know. And I think we have a very good relationship personally. I think that what they did was wrong, but he apologized.
On the SNAP benefits set to expire tomorrow, folks are talking about putting out about canned goods and non-perishables for trick-or-treaters. Is there a possibility, like you did with the military moving around funds, is there a possibility to do that?
Well, there always is, but all the Democrats have to do is say, let's go. I mean, you know, they don't have to do anything. They don't have to agree. All they have to do is say, the government is open. And we only need 5 Democrats. But they're, you know, they've become a radical left party. They really have, they've become a very radical left partner. And they've lost their minds. They've lost their minds. All they have to do is say, the government is open, and that's the end of it. And, you know, largely, when you talk about SNAP, you're talking about largely Democrats. But I I'm president. I want to help everybody. I want to help Democrats and Republicans. But when you're talking about SNAP, if you look, it's largely Democrats. They're hurting their own people. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
All right, so what was interesting there is that it's obvious at this point that the media doesn't understand or is trying to gaslight America by saying or pretending like they don't know that all the Democrats have to do is say, sign a continuing resolution. They keep asking the same questions, getting the same answers over and over. President Trump keeps saying all they've got to do is sign a paper. They know this. So they're trying to do everything they possibly can to fake out, gaslight, misrepresent to the American people. So that was a short gaggle he had on a plane while he was coming down here to Palm Beach. And now he's on his way to Palm Beach. The next thing you're going to see, now he's going to be landing. I included this because I know a lot of people like to see him go up and come down and see this big giant bird fly in. Now, one thing I want you to see is look where the plane is coming in. You see the tree line? The tree line is on the other side of the runways. This is Palm Beach International. Not a big airport, but it's not a small airport. And those trees are way over there. Remember the whole thing about the high hide and where that high hide would be? You can see the tree lines, how far away it is. And so you can see that, yes, somebody could go into a tree way back there. But they should be... They should be secured. The plane comes in, all those tree lines are right there, and there's the tower for the airport. So you're seeing the distance in terms of where it would have to be. All the Secret Service has to do is just make sure you check that tree line once in a while, whatever. So that may have been something where they did, and they were waiting for somebody to come back. So here comes the plane.
That. So we had an amazing trip. We had incredible meetings with President Xi of China. As you know, with the brilliant new Prime Minister of Japan, we just had a great time. And with the President of South Korea, we had an amazing journey. We also saw a lot of other countries. We brought back home with us trillions of dollars trillions, many trillions of dollars. And our country is doing well. The shutdown proceeds because the Democrats just don't know what they're doing. I don't know what's wrong with them. They've never done a thing like this. They've become crazed lunatics. All they have to do is say, let's go, let's open up our country, and everything snaps back into shape. So there's something wrong with them. I'm always going to meet. All they have to do is open up the country. Let them open up the country, and we'll meet. We'll meet very quickly. But they have to open up the country. It's their fault. Everything is their fault. It's so easily solved. You know, we have a number of Democrats that have already voted for this. But the Republicans are very unified. They're very strong. And they want to do what's right for the country. They don't want to see trillions of dollars wasted on people that came into our country illegally, many from prisons and many from areas that you don't want to even know about. So we'd like to see this taken care of rapidly. You have a lot of, we have tremendous support, but it's not even support, it's common sense. Open up the country. Obamacare has turned out to be a disaster, as I've been saying for years. It can be fixed or redone. People don't get good health care, and their premiums go up every single year. So we should change it. It's a disaster. Obamacare is bad health care at a very high price. So tonight we have a big celebration of Halloween, and I'll see you later. Thank you very much.
So I've been looking to see if this big Halloween thing is going to be televised anywhere. I have not, as of yet, seen it televised or any notification thereof. I keep checking my board here to see if they are indeed going to show it, but I haven't seen it. So this might be a private event that they're going to have, and we shall see what's going to be going on from there. So 2 quick press conferences, very short, both of them very short. When he was up in the air and when he came down, he talked to the press, both, as he probably is coming down here to get some rest in regards to everything else. So now I'm going to turn to, well, before I get into the actual show, let me bring this message to you from this part of the show's sponsor, and I will be right back. Just bear with me, and here we go. Today's show is brought to you by Juvenon. Are you feeling tired, sluggish, or foggy? It could be poor blood flow. Blood Flow 7 by Juvenon is scientifically designed to support healthy circulation, so you'll feel energized, clear-headed, and vibrant again. It's packed with natural ingredients like nitrocygine, I hope I said that correctly, S7, and trans resveratrol. Blood Flow 7 works by boosting nitric oxide levels, a molecule that relaxes blood vessels, helping your blood flow freely to every corner of your body. And that means more oxygen and nutrients to your brain, heart, muscles, and even those places that might need a little extra help as you age.
They call it a lifting. They also use another word, but I'm not going to use that word. You know what that is? The word, it starts with an E. You know what the word is? If I ever used it, I'd be run out of town by you people.
Oh, behave. Yeah. Yeah, baby. Yeah.
Oh. Let's talk about the fact that President Trump incited an erection.
Explanation was not they didn't like Donald Trump. They said he participated in an erection.
With just 1 dose a day, you can reclaim your stamina, support heart health, and improve overall vitality, all without any caffeine or stimulants. Try Blood Flow 7 today and feel the difference where it matters most, inside your veins. All right, so President Trump posted a few things on Truth Social before we get into this. As you know, this whole thing with SNAP literally blows up tomorrow. As of November 1st, nobody is getting any SNAP benefits. Food stamps, as we know it, is over. Supposedly. The deadline tomorrow, well, put it this way. Either way, nothing is happening tomorrow. There is no food stamp deposit coming. So if you were waiting for it, even if you deserve it, nobody is getting food stamps tomorrow. When? I can't tell you. Monday? Tuesday? A week from now? Who knows? At this point, you have to be prepared. Like I've been telling you, this hasn't been something that's been going to sneak up on you. This is absolutely a big deal for a lot of people, including people who actually deserve it. But tomorrow, you're not getting it. You can thank the Democrats. And then, after all that happened, and you guys knew I said it yesterday, I said they will find some judge who wants to put on the veil, the crown of president, even though there's some local judge someplace that's going to decide the fate of food stamps over and above Congress and the president. And damn if they didn't do that. Twice. They found two judges that have decided they know better than President Trump. But the problem is, neither of them have any idea what the hell they're talking about. Let's get into this.
There was just a court ruling up there in Boston. 25 states had brought this, saying the government can fund SNAP. Will the government now have to fund it starting tomorrow?
Yeah, Katie, so that's the question, and we are just getting this ruling, but it doesn't fully answer it yet. It's not the full temporary restraining order that she seemed inclined to order yesterday, but it is a step in that right direction. So basically what the judge is saying here is that USDA does have the authority to issue these SNAP benefits during the shutdown.
All right, I'm going to stop her right there. What she just said, in essence, the judgment said this. So the judge is declaring that you do have the legal authority to break the law. That's exactly what this judge has said. And I'm going to prove it to you in a second, but right now we have two judges who have come out and said, please break the law. These arsonists known as the Democrats, they started a fire and they've asked us to put it out. That's how bad it is with this Democrat Party. They lit this entire thing on fire. They knew they were going to torch it. And then they ran to a couple crazy judges to bail them out and try to make them look good to the people. It's insane, absolutely insane.
The federal government had been arguing yesterday in court that they are not only prohibited from issuing these benefits, but that it would be logistically catastrophic to figure out how to even do this in a reduced way. So she's saying, you have this authority and you have to issue these benefits. Now, what she's not fully ordering, she's just stopping short of that.
So she didn't do anything. That's exactly what she did. She didn't order anything. She's like, you should do this, you could do this, and please come back to me with a plan how you're going to distribute the shortfall that you guys are sitting on. You see, they only have enough cash for like half of the money to pay SNAP. The judge is like, well, you figure it out how you're going to divvy it up. But in order to divvy it up, you're going to have to break the law. This thing, if it were to go to a appellate court or a Supreme Court, would be tossed out on its butt. But they don't care. The idea here is to make President Trump look like the bad guy. Are you going to now go to court and fight what this judge said just so you can screw the Democrats? That's how they will paint it. They know they've painted themselves into a corner, and they found these whacked out judges to go ahead and basically punt. We'll figure out who's going to get paid. The funniest thing ever would be for President Trump and his people to give it to the red states. We figured out we're going to give this much to Tennessee and Alabama and Georgia and Florida and a little bit over here to Indiana and Idaho. Well, what about California and Nevada? We don't have that much. That would be the most awesome thing to do. But I don't know how they're going to do this. Who is going to pick and choose how much each? Basically, if there's 50% left, if there's only 50% of the funds just for November, if there's only 50% of the funds, I think the easiest way says everybody gets 50% of the benefit. That's the fair way. Hey, it's going to be easy. We got 50% of the money. We're going to divide that 50% across everybody, and you get half what's coming to you. What do you think's going to happen then? How do you think people are going to react if you are on disability and you get food stamps, are you going to be okay with half? Seriously, I know there's some people in here who get food stamps. Now you're looking at the likelihood of getting half of what you normally get during Thanksgiving season. November 1st ain't going to happen. Whatever happens is going to be half that amount.
Giving them until Monday to come back to her and say how they're going to do it. Because even if they use these contingency funds, which were set aside by Congress for this purpose, it won't cover the full month of November for everybody. So she's telling them on Monday, I want you to get back to me with whether or not you're just going to use these contingency funds and issue reduced benefits for the month of November, or whether you're going to use these contingency funds plus some additional funds so that people can get their full benefits.
Oh, yeah. So now the judge is looking at the checkbook and says, go find some other money. And what are you talking about? This is all we got. This is it. Why don't you have any more? Because the government's closed. Go find some more money. That is so far and above any legal authority. Go find some money. Figure it out. What's your plan? Well, we'd had a plan. We had a plan to open a government. That was our plan. The other plan is to get rid of like half the people who are going to get these benefits. You know, the ones who ain't from here. I don't know what you want us to do, Your Honor. Matter of fact, I don't believe you have the authority to be telling us what to do. They don't. You're going to hear that.
Either way, though, even with this order right now, or this ruling that she gave us, these people will not be getting their benefits on Monday, on November 1st. There will very likely still be a lapse while they figure out exactly how this will all play out.
Good luck. How in the hell do you figure this out? And how long of a lapse? Is the judge going to figure that out? Oh, you got to get it out by Wednesday. How? What mechanism do you as a judge tell our employees they need to do this and do that? You can't compel that. Trump and the administration could drag their feet for a month. There's literally nothing they could do. That's why the Democrats have put this in the realm of the press. There is nothing this judge can do. There's nothing the Democrats can do. It's all media. It's all media trying to paint the bad Republicans want to starve babies. There's no legal recourse here. And by the way, even if there was, who's going to enforce it? I mean, we are at a Jacksonian crossroads if I've ever seen one. What are you going to do? You control nothing. And you've made that known quite well. Oh, we don't control the House, the Senate, the White House. You don't control anything. How are you going to make this happen? How are you going to enforce this? With the media. That's it. That's it.
All right, so it'll be difficult for many millions of Americans who are not going to get that funding immediately if they do end up getting it at all.
So in terms of SNAP and whether or not the government can find the money to do it, the judge is Indira Talwani in Massachusetts who says it's likely illegal what they're doing, and she wants to know by Monday if they can pay for it. Here's what the New York Times reported on the SNAP court hearing yesterday. Entering the hearing, top officials in the Trump administration had acknowledged that they had billions of dollars left over across multiple federal accounts, including money in an emergency reserve specifically for SNAP. But lawyers for the Justice Department signal that the administration could not or would not use those funds despite the looming shortfall.
All right, so you just heard that. That was the argument. The judge didn't want to hear it. The judge basically stepped into a bear trap. See, the judge should have known when you start talking about budgetary and allocation procedures, those things are conducted by law. It's not like President Trump could just write a check. Okay, here's some money for... No, you can't do that. Money that's allocated for X or Y, you can't dip into that and do this and do other things. That's illegal. So this judge is advocating for illegality. It's Slippery slope. Yeah, we're right there.
Explain that.
Well, one of the arguments apparently is that some of the reserve funds for SNAP are specifically for natural disasters. We know those are going to come, and they say we don't want to deplete that because we're going to need it at some point. But they also say, despite the fact that the Trump administration did allow SNAP to remain funded during the shutdown 2018 to 2019, they say things are different this time. Different funds have been expended. There are different laws they claim tie their hands, and that Congress has got to do something to make that money movable and fungible again. They say they just can't. But the judge did not sound like she's buying it. It sounds like this judge in Rhode Island today also does not buy it.
This judge in Rhode Island. Oh, by the way, this is the same judge who had previously ruled that Trump couldn't do this or couldn't do that and got smacked down, and he ended up doing whatever it was she stopped. I forget. There's so many times that these district court judges try to do things. This has been a planned operation. The Democrats know they've got nothing, so they've got these pigeonholed judges that they have decided they can go to, and they're going to rule whatever the Democrats want, whenever the Democrats want, and so it's merely a speed bump. What can we do to slow Trump down? So either Trump needs to play along and wait for the appellate procedure, or he needs to acquiesce. That's it. Oh, well, there is a third thing. Tell him to go pound sand. And then deal with the media stuff after that.
She was also saying kind of like, guys, it's the easiest thing in the world. I don't even know why we're having this conversation.
Yeah. It is easy. Instead of trying to make the USDA jump through hoops and try to figure out where we're going to give the money, what percentage to who, how about you just order the Democrats to sign a continuing resolution? You're doing all these things extraneously trying to make President Trump do stuff, but the answer to it is, why don't you order that? They don't. Now listen, I think this next cut is Brooke, forget her last name, she's the USDA or the Agriculture Secretary. And this cut, I believe, is from Mike Johnson's press conference.
The fact that the Democrats are saying, but wait, USDA has money in their accounts, why it is really their fault, I've seen it over and over and over from some of their leaders, is absolute false, and it is a lie. We have been saying on October 10th we sent messages out, on October 24th we sent messages out. These benefits end on November 1st. Now, let me get down into a little bit of the details on that to better explain.
All right, so as I've said to you, when I gave my hurricane analogy, they knew this was going to happen. There was no secret. They've had advance warning. They've had basically 4 weeks. Hey, this is going to happen on November 1st, guys. And they did nothing. So I want you to pay real close attention as she and Mike Johnson, they outline the actual law behind all of this. The law that tells them specifically what they can and can't do. Pretty much you're not going to see this on CNN or most of the news channels, maybe not even on Fox, but they're going to tell you specifically what the letter of the law is. That's really important.
So there is a contingency fund at USDA, but that contingency fund, by the way, doesn't even cover, I think, half of the $9.2 billion that would be required for November SNAP, but it is only allowed to flow if the underlying program is funded. It's called a contingency fund, and by law, contingency fund can only flow when the underlying fund is flowing. So, for example, if today the Democrats say, oh, never mind, sorry, we'll open the government, and SNAP flows, Hurricane Melissa or one of the hurricanes hits, that's the contingency fund that we would use to send more money into the vulnerable communities that are harmed by a specific event like a hurricane. But it is a contingency fund that can only flow if the underlying appropriation is approved. And listen, even if it could flow, it doesn't even cover half of the month of November. So here we are again in 2 weeks having the exact same conversation.
Now that's really, really important. All of this that's going on right now is going to happen again. They only have enough money anyway. Even if they agree and release it, it only covers half of November. And the other half is where Thanksgiving comes. And everyone's going to want to go and get their Thanksgiving food, and there's no money. So whatever happens in the next couple of days, we're watching a repeat. It's going to happen again unless something stops this. And it's going to happen again in December. So every 2 weeks, we're going to see this until the Democrats sign this doggone piece of paper. And she's telling you. So I'm not sure if you understand. I want to break that down. What she said is there is a contingency fund, but it's based upon this budget running out. You know, you, your family, you and your wife, you and your husband, you say, we've got a savings account as our reserve. Reserve. You understand the word reserve. It's a just in case account. It is a break glass account. Over here, this is our family operating account. This is our checking account. We only have a reserve because we have this. Because every week or every month, you take a little bit here and you put it in this. So that only exists because you have funds flowing. If you have no funds flowing, that's all you have. That means your lights, your television, your cable, whatever, your internet, all these other things aren't going to get paid. And then you dip in this, and then it's all gone because you still have no flow coming through. Democrats don't understand that. They never have. It's always been a money grows on trees type thing with them.
I would just add to that, the Democrats are lying about that, and I think they know that. Some of the ones who are out saying it are actually attorneys. They can read the black letter law themselves. They've even filed a lawsuit, you saw, to try to do it. Why? Because they wanted a talking point. They know that's a frivolous piece of litigation. They know they're going to lose, but they also know it'll take many weeks or months to have that ultimately determined by a court because of the way the justice system works. So they're using it as a talking point to try to claim. I believe they know for a fact that what they filed in the court is false. You know, they're lawmakers. They're supposed to know how the law works. And so the whole thing is just shameful. And they're using the people as pawns in this game. That underlying fund that the Secretary just addressed was unfunded by the Democrats themselves when they voted against the CR.
So you understand what he's saying? They lit the fire. They're the ones who underfunded it to begin with. They lit the fire. They have no way of putting the fire out, and so they're asking someone else to come in and take care of this mess that we created and pretend like it's a Republican issue. It completely boggles the mind how people aren't screaming at them.
CR would have kept all this funded, and they chose not to do it. Not once, not twice. 13 times in the Senate, once in the House, 14 overall.
So you only hear people on the right saying that they haven't done something 14 times in a row. The media won't talk about it. So the people who want their SNAP and food stamps don't care. All they care about is get me my money. You've seen the videos. Which puts President Trump in a very precarious situation. And it's a situation based upon messaging. If he tells this judge to go pound sand, the media is going to immediately say that President Trump is ignoring a court order for politics. That's what he wants to do. He is ignoring this when he's got the money, he could be feeding people. The judge said you got to do it, and President Trump is saying no. And so I think the Democrats want him to go Andrew Jackson. I think they want him to go there. There's too many things happening right now. They're pushing and pushing and pushing. So what is President Trump supposed to do? Well, at 6:10 p.m., he posted this. And it may not make some of you guys happy. It says, our government lawyers do not think we have the legal authority to pay SNAP with certain monies we have available, which she just talked about. And now 2 courts, not just one, but 2 courts, have issued conflicting opinions on what we can and can't do. I don't want Americans to go hungry just because the radical Democrats refuse to do the right thing and reopen the government. Therefore, and this is really important to understand. Therefore, I have instructed our lawyers. Notice it doesn't say USDA administrators. Notice it doesn't say Brooke Rollins from agriculture. That's very important. Because the media is going to say Trump capitulated and he's given the Democrats everything they want. That's what the media is going to say. But you have to read his words. I have instructed our lawyers to ask the court to clarify how we can legally fund SNAP as soon as possible. What you're looking right there is a bear trap. He's putting it back on the court. So you think we can use this money, huh? Yeah. Well, I'm not really sure. The law says, like Mike Johnson, it's black letter law. The law says this. I'm asking you to clarify how we can break the law. I'd love for you to give me a get out of jail pass here, because I'm the president and I can't just openly violate laws that are on the books. See, I think the court tried to trick him. I think the court tried to say, I'm going to tell you to break the law. Now let's see if President Trump breaks the law. There's no doubt that there's a law. Nobody can argue that there's a law. The courts are saying, ignore it for now. Just give out the money. And I think that they were setting a trap for President Trump, because then they would impeach him because they said he broke the law. And President Trump, or whoever wrote this or whoever advised him, I think is brilliant, absolutely brilliant, because he's not saying he's doing anything. I have instructed our lawyers to ask the court how we can legally fund SNAP as soon as possible. So those of you who are on SNAP, it ain't coming anytime soon. When I say soon, 24, 48 hours, because now come tonight, or maybe even on Monday, one of the Department of Justice attorneys is going to go in and say, this is a law. Here's the actual law, Your Honor. This is the statute. You're asking President Trump to violate this. Can you specifically clarify how exactly you want this to happen? Tell us. We're all ears. We'd love for you to tell us how to break the law. Checkmate. You won't hear this on the news. They'll say, President Trump is capitulating. I'm like, you better read what he wrote. He didn't say Brooke Rollins. I didn't authorize Scott Bessent. I didn't authorize Jameson. Because I talked to the lawyers, and they're going to come back to you and say, tell me how you want me to do this. And now you're going to see these judges, I think, back off. I think they have to back off. I think they're going to put themselves in impeachment territory. Because now, what do you say to that? Most people aren't going to pay attention to this. I want to, hey, tell me how to do it. I'd love to do it. We don't know. You want to call me incompetent, whatever. Tell me how I break this law. And now the judge who says, and the judge did the same thing. So you've got to see it from both sides. The judge didn't issue the TRO. The judge said, come back on Monday and tell me how you're going to distribute this money. So the judge was, I can't tell them to do it. If I tell them to do it, I'm breaking the law. So what I'm going to do is tell them to come back with a plan so that they break the law. And Trump just threw it right back at him. Hey, tell me how I break the law. That's what's going on. And nobody's going to tell you that. You can read it right there. It is already delayed enough due to the Democrats keeping the government closed through the monthly payment date. And even if we get immediate guidance, it will unfortunately be delayed while states get the money out. So he's letting everybody know, even if everything aligned, the stars all come together, it's still going to be delayed. You can't make somebody work faster. What's the judge going to say? Break the law by Tuesday. Sorry, doesn't work that way. If we are given the appropriate legal direction by the court, if If anyone not understanding this, it's pretty clear he's putting the onus back on the court. He's telling the court, you're gonna have to give us a roadmap here, because I'm looking at a cliff on this side and a waterfall on this side, and I don't know how we're gonna do this with blindfolded. So you're gonna have to give us the legal direction. So it's back on her. And let's finish here. If you give that to me, if you give me, and you read exactly if we are given the appropriate legal direction by the court, not the media, not the Democrats, you're now going to have to tell me exactly how we do that. It will then be my honor to provide the funding. Just like I did with military and law enforcement pay. The Democrats should quit this charade where they hurt people for their own political reasons and immediately reopen the government. If you use SNAP benefits, call the Senate Democrats and tell them to reopen the government now. Here's Crying Chuck Schumer's office number. Bada bing, bada boom. You're not going to hear that. You're probably going to hear people in the media saying the judge said you got to do it. You got to give him the money. But they didn't read what the judge actually said. They paraphrased, as they often always do. Let me show you something. This is from this was about Judge Talawani. Judge Talawani waits, but Judge McConnell in Rhode Island, once one of Senator White's House largest donors, grants a TRO. So the guy in Rhode Island actually issued the TRO. Oddly, it's against Secretary Rollins and not the Democrat senators that are voting against reopening government. He's reading from the bench. So he issued an order against Brooke Rollins. Brooke Rollins has no authority to go over her boss. So imagine you work for a company and you're, the manager, and somebody sues you and says you need to send a check out from the company's account. You don't have that authority. They're trying to set a trap where Brooke Rollins and other people go to jail for violating an actual law. Can you imagine her saying, okay, let me just go ahead and wire this money out? You don't even know what kind of spending limit she personally has. How many people have to sign off at $9 billion being sent out? This is absolutely absurd. It says here, judge doesn't quite grant TRO, requiring Trump admin to make partial SNAP payment. Judge Indira Talwani says USDA has that power, wants answer by Monday on how or on whether it will do so. This is insane. I'm not a lawyer. I didn't sleep at a Holiday Inn last night. Someplace better. But in any event, I can see right now we are in some treacherous waters here. Some treacherous waters that don't make any sense whatsoever. Tom Fitton said, judicial coup update. Anti-Trump Obama judge tries to take over food stamp program and force spending of money that hasn't been appropriated because of the shutdown. It's just not there. She had been overruled twice before trying to prevent Trump from enforcing immigration law, and then she tried to mandate taxpayer funding, this is the one, of Planned Parenthood. And she got overruled. Yeah, you got to play Planned Parenthood. No, I don't. Yeah, you do. They go to appellate court. Yeah, she's crazy. Ignore it. So these low-level judges, Bo Asperger and what's this one called? Toini, Leini, whatever her name is, they've been doing this for months. Mucking up the waters, knowing they have no authority over the president. It's only to secure time. This one, yeah. This is from Jonathan Turley. The judge who indicated today that she was going to order the Trump administration to continue to fund SNAP previously gave an injunction against the Trump administration for cutting off Planned Parenthood funding. Judge Indira Talwani's earlier order was set aside by 3 Biden appellate judges in September. And here she comes again. And they just keep going to these same nutbags over and over. But now she's in a real precarious situation because she's going to have to, as President Trump said, clarify, what exactly are you telling us? What exactly are we talking about here? And I think she's smart enough to know, oh, that didn't work the first side. What am I going to do? What clarification? What am I going to give them to tell them to break an existing law? Turley continued. He said the second federal judge in Rhode Island also ordered the use of emergency funds to continue to pay SNAP during the shutdown. Such orders raise serious questions of judicial overreach in ordering the use of discretionary or emergency funds. Overreach, questions of overreach? We passed that 6 exits ago. These people are in overreach hell at this point. They are doing anything and anything, literally anything, to stop Trump. Absolutely insane how this goes. All right, so now you understand that now about the SNAP benefits, right? So let's see what else has been going on here. So I want you to see this. Now we have a second or third judge now. A third judge issues a ruling today, and it was at 5 o'clock tonight. All right, look at this one. In an infuriating move, an activist judge blocks President Trump from ensuring citizenship to vote in federal elections. Judge Colleen Kollar-Kotelly has decided Trump cannot have the states require proof of citizenship for voter registration. She believes she is president of the United States. Ignore an appeal. It'll get overturned. We are facing a judicial coup who want newcomers to vote. So this judge comes out, and I don't know where they are, but issues a national injunction is you can't ask anybody, including that would be the states that already do it, like Florida. She's like, no, you can't ask people where wait a second. You cannot what the hell is going on? What in the hell is going on? And how did we get here? Let me go back to the SNAP one. This is a good one. Legal arguments aside, there just isn't enough money in this reserve fund to fund SNAP. There's at most $5 to $6 billion. SNAP needs at least $9 billion a month. A month. And another $1.2 billion just for overhead for people to type out the checks and do all the data entry and all that stuff. So basically, you're talking about almost $11 billion a month to issue SNAP. We are at the precipice. This is it. There's a cliff right in front of us. And so what's the admin supposed to do? Even if they comply with this delusional judge's deranged order, I guess I'd pick the poor states by SNAP's own definition of poverty, which means mostly the deep south states first. Definitely puts big blue states like California, New York, and even Illinois out of the picture. Sorry, Kevin, we don't have enough. What are you going to do? And then this stupid gambit from silly Schumer will just motivate Dems to hold out even longer, since they truly have no face-saving strategy, and eventually will run into December, and there will literally be zero available for SNAP, not even in contingency. Nothing they can even argue in terms of there's money sitting there. It's zero. So this can kicking is not going to work. And it's happening at the worst time possible for Americans. I don't really care about the newcomers. I'm talking about Americans. It's absolutely insane. And that's where we are. That's where we are right now. Let me stop here and take some comments because this may be a little bit confusing. 9 billion. These people need jobs. Yeah, big time. That's 1 month. 1 month. SNAP needs the Doge effect. Exactly. That's $108 billion a year. $108 billion of your money that they're demanding be paid to these people. Let's wait for those billions to fall from the sky. Literally, that's what we're watching. Many of you have either owned businesses or work at a business. And you have to know, if it ain't there, it ain't there. There's no way a judge can say, well, go ahead and buy a new copying machine. Oh, we don't have the money. Well, get back to me on Monday and let me know how you're going to raise the machine. Bake sale? I don't know. Do something. I'm not a magician. Yeah, $9 billion a month, exactly. What about all that fraud that's being exposed? That too. They don't even want you to look at that. Just keep paying. 61 days equals 700,000 government jobs, exactly. And just so you know, what's really under the surface here, and Mike Johnson kind of mentioned it, or I don't know if it was Mike or if I saw it elsewhere. All of this is because they won't sign the continuing resolution. They won't sign the continuing resolution, and you know all the stupid stuff in there, the condoms and circumcisions for Uganda and the LGBTQ cookbook and all that stuff. But in addition, what happened is, why all of this is happening, why all of this is happening right now, is the Democrats lost the vote on the big, beautiful bill. The big, beautiful bill stripped all of this stuff from the budget. The Democrats are fighting to have it put back in. So this money is gone. The law already passed. It's gone. It's not available. We need to negotiate. No, they already passed the law. You're looking to try and redo it. I'm not sure if you remember that. They're trying to take an eraser to the big, beautiful bill. The big, beautiful bill passed, and the big, beautiful bill took all of this stuff away from them, including SNAP benefits to newcomers. And so now they know there's nothing they can do. If they sign a continuing resolution, they're signing a continuing resolution based upon the big, beautiful bill. They got nowhere to go. I haven't been making it up when I say these people are completely lost. There's nothing they can do. The big, beautiful bill passed. It extracted all that crap, and it's really put the onus on getting rid of, deporting, doing everything you got to do to get rid of all these people who aren't supposed to be here. And they know this. Ever thought it could affect stores across America? Yeah. Let's see here. Problem. All the lawyer judges I knew that were Republicans retired. They couldn't work under the loony thing. Can I go over exactly what the nuclear option is? Yes, we are going to get there for sure. We're gonna get there. Let's see here. No is a complete sentence. You sound like an old English teacher I had. No with a period is an absolute sentence. Like, oh yeah, I learned that a long time ago. Let me go here. All right, so I don't know if you guys follow Margot Cleveland. I've mentioned her many times. Margot actually breaks out and shows you the actual verbiage of a judgment or an order. She put this out. I mean, at this point, the Democrats are just proving every day just how little use they serve. So Amy Klobuchar, how much of an idiot she is, she decides she's going to post the actual order because that's all Democrats want. They want a judge to say Trump is wrong. And she goes, good news, a judge ruled the administration is required by law to use emergency funding to provide food assistance to families in need. No, she didn't. She said, come back Monday, show me how. And it says, but to the plaintiffs, and she highlighted, defendants are required to use those this is the other one, Rhode Island, required to use those contingency funds as necessary for the SNAP program. So President Trump is going to go back and say, tell me how I do that when the law says X, Y, and Z. She's quoting a law, or he's quoting a law saying pursuant to 7 U.S.C. 2257. So if you're quoting a law and using 7 U.S.C. 2257 to justify your decision, I'm pretty sure in 7 U.S.C. 2257 it's going to say, as long as you don't break other laws. You kind of left that part out. You kind of didn't write that. That would be nice to know. Let me see before I get into the nuclear option. All right, so there's a couple of different things I want to show you. So let's, what else did President Trump put out tonight that I wanted to show you before I get to the next spot? I'll do those at the end. There's some things he did that were kind of fluffy, but nonetheless. So let's get into the nuclear option.
Good morning, everyone. This is day 31 of the Democrat shutdown. As you can see, I have a special guest that I'm delighted to introduce to you in just a moment here. We have spoken daily, every day at this podium, about the real pain that Americans are experiencing because of the Democrat shutdown. We talked about the pain for our troops, for our federal workers, for American families. And this morning we want to speak specifically about the millions of American families that are going to feel real hardship because of the SNAP benefits drying up. And we have no one less than the Secretary of the Department of Agriculture, who's in charge of that program, that will speak directly to that issue. But I want to begin first with just a word of sincere gratitude. Across this country, we've got millions of federal workers who have been showing up at the office every day without pay. This has drug on for a month now. Those federal workers have shown up for a month straight, not knowing when or if their next paycheck will be delivered. They're doing their jobs, and they're doing it valiantly, while the Senate Democrats simply refuse to do their job. Their most simple and basic responsibility is to keep the government in operation so that we can keep the services flowing to the American people and keep the country moving. But they're not doing that. So we just want to say to these federal workers, like the hundreds of civilian employees who are also spread throughout the country, like the ones in my district, for example, at the Bain Jones Army Community Hospital down at Fort Polk, or a big Army base there, we just want to say thank you for your diligence, for doing your job, for your service to the country, even though Democrats are withholding your paycheck. They are shameless in doing so. Throughout this shutdown, President Trump and his administration have done everything in their power, as we relay to you here every day, example after example. They've done everything they can to mitigate and reduce the harm to the American people. He's gone out of his way to find creative solutions to ensure our service members don't miss a paycheck, for example, to ensure that the WIC program, that the nutrition assistance to women, infants, and children is still flowing. President Trump has proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that if there is any way to fund these programs that are drying up now, that he will do it. If there was any way to fund SNAP during the Democrat shutdown, you can be assured that your commander-in-chief would do it. But we are now reaching a breaking point. Thanks to Democrats voting no on government funding now 14 different times, SNAP benefits for millions of American families are drying up. It's about 1 in 8 people in this country who rely upon this to literally put food on their table. And the blame for this lies 100% with the senators sitting over there on the Democrat Party. They are the ones who have locked arms and decided over and over and over and over, 14 times now, to vote against these services being provided. And now I want you to think about that. You're going to have real people, real families. You're going to have children who will go hungry beginning this weekend when those resources dry up. They rely upon that, and yet...
So I wanted to stop right there. As much as I don't want this SNAP fiasco to continue, as much as I don't want to see newcomers getting SNAP benefits, and as much as I don't want to see the EBT ghetto queens getting their SNAP benefits, there are going to be some people who have a problem. That they're not, I mean, November 1st, I mean, I know when we go shopping, we shop where we want, when we want, how we want, do it online on Instacart. And a lot of people can't do that. They're dependent on those SNAP benefits coming. And so I'd like you guys to all think that, and I mean, remember that, and see if there's a local food bank near where you are. And if you can give whatever you can give to that local food bank, it'll help some of the people who live near you actually access the food that they need. And I think that's a noble cause for us to, as Americans, to start looking at and going, hey, there are going to be some people hurting. And we need to look out for those people because there's nobody else doing it.
The Democrats continue with their political games in Washington while people are sitting around the dinner table without the resources that they need. The administration has done all it can to keep this program afloat, but the limits have been reached here. And what are the Democrats doing today? Where are the Democrats? Are they in the Senate today? No, they're out campaigning. While critical SNAP benefits run dry, the Democrats have skipped town. They've abandoned their post in the Senate, and the reason that's so important and noteworthy for the American people is the Senate is the only place where this can end. The last hope of reopening the government before millions of Americans go hungry. They've abandoned their post. Democrats are now this is the incredible part, they're now trying to somehow blame Republicans for cutting off SNAP when Republicans, remember, are the ones who have voted 14 times for the SNAP benefits to flow. It's the Democrats who voted every single time to turn that off. The same Democrats who've been perfectly fine with defunding SNAP and WIC for over a month now are suddenly claiming to be outraged that Republicans and President Trump can't just wave some magic wand and fix the mess that they themselves have created. If they're suddenly waking up to the pain their reckless decision is causing, then there's one simple way to fix it. They can come back in here and vote to reopen the government. But we don't think they're going to do that. Now, this is what's interesting. The most recent development is that you've got many more people now calling on the Senate Democrats to do the right job. There's a handful of moderates still in the Democrat Party, and they are very upset about that. The tension is rising. You had Senator John Fetterman of Pennsylvania, for example, who just yesterday, I think it was, accused his own party of, quote, playing chicken with the food security of 42 million Americans. He's right. And you've seen now the avalanche of people and organizations and institutions calling on the Democrats to reopen the government and vote for the clean CR.
If you haven't seen that, the CEO of United Airlines, the head of the Teamsters, a lot of big companies, big organizations recognize what is happening right now. Because if you ask a Democrat a very simple question, what does it take for the government to reopen? Don't lie to me. What does it take? Well, the answer is it takes you agreeing to the continuing resolution. Their answer is, well, we got to negotiate. We need a bipartisan, because they don't want the big, beautiful bill that was passed to stand. They are thinking that this is their ability or their way to destroy the big, beautiful bill. They knew they got stomped when it got passed. And so that tells me they've been plotting for some time. Hey, down there, oh yeah, November 1st, all this stuff is going to run out of money. Let's tighten the screws against the Republicans. No, you're not tightening the screws against Republicans. You're tightening against your own people. President Trump it was very telling to me when he said most of the people on food stamps are Democrats. I don't know if he's already looked at the data. I don't even know if that's true. But he's like, most of the people are your own people. And so if you are a Democrat on food stamps, the people you need to talk to are the ones you voted for. Those of us who aren't, we're okay. We voted for President Trump. We don't want to see this happen. We were happy to see the big, beautiful bill pass. We like the idea of extracting all this stuff out of the budget. And now you're trying to find a way to put it back in. There is nothing to negotiate. That's got to be something that's drummed into people's heads. Oh, we got to sit down. He's got to sit down and talk. No, he doesn't. We're done talking. Sign the CR or else. And again, I'm not a lawyer. If any of you guys are lawyers, you feel free to chime in. But by asking the court to clarify exactly what you want us to do legally, I think at that point she's going to have to punt. She's going to say it's not my job. Well, what the hell are we here for? It's going to be very hard for her to tell the President of the United States to ignore the current law and do something. I don't see it happening.
You got labor unions. You got the largest airlines in America. You got independent voters. Working class Americans across the country, they are all pleading with the Democrats to do their job and stop using their hardships, the people's hardships, for the Democrats' political games in Washington. Yesterday, there was a lot said, written about an editorial that was in the Washington Post I commend it to your reading if you haven't seen that. But it reads in part just one line out of that. I would like to stand up here and read you the whole thing. The Washington Post, as you know, is not generally on my side. They said, quote, Democrats openly acknowledge that they refused to do this, reopen the government, because it would mean giving up their leverage. If they persist, it will mean families start to go hungry. Now, look, this isn't some novel idea. As you know, the Democrats have always traditionally said, breathlessly, given speeches passionately saying that you've got to keep the government funded. You should never shut it down. It would be so dangerous. And we've recounted this over and over. I mean, I literally could be here all day reading the Democrats' own past statements on the perils of shutting down the government, but I'm just going to highlight a couple this morning because they're relevant and timely. I'll begin with Senator Coons. He's the senior Democrat senator from Delaware. In 2013, he said this, quote, our democracy cannot function if the majority party threatens to shut down the government unless it gets its way, unquote. And that was Senator Coons in 2013. And what is he saying now? Earlier this week, he said, quote, frankly, this is our only moment of leverage. Quite a switch. Bernie Sanders has got a lot of airtime here lately, and back in 2018, Senator Bernie Sanders said this, quote, the truth is that shutting down the government is a serious and dangerous action that we must do everything possible to prevent. That was in 2018. You know what he said this month? Quote, if we reopen the government, we lose our leverage. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse in 2013. The shutdown was, quote, entirely unnecessary and has harmed our economy and our reputation in the world. But if we also can't forget, we must never again allow extremist hostage-taking to create this kind of disruption. That was 2013. Just days ago, the senator from Rhode Island said the opposite. It's the only lever we have, meaning the shutdown. What he means is that the pain of the American people is their political lever. I guess he's forgotten his cries of alarm over the extremist hostage-taking. And how about the House? And infamously now, we all know, the Democrat whip, Catherine Clark, the second highest ranking Democrat in the House, said, quote, just last year, she said, they are taking a non-issue, a false flag, and saying this is the reason we can't proceed. It is a dangerous precedent to be threatening a shutdown. That's what she said in 2024. Now, what'd she say about a week ago? The opposite, quote, of course there will be families that are going to suffer here, but it's one of the few leverage times we have.
Why do you think they keep talking about leverage? Why is it that each one of them has said that at this point, that it's our only leverage? You see, when you have nothing else to go on, everything that you stand for, your entire party, is completely defeated. You have nothing to offer the American people but pain. And you're now using pain as leverage. If we can get enough people upset that they don't have food, if we get enough people upset that they don't, have this paid or that paid or whatever, as you're seeing on X, which I think is a major psyop. I do not think the bulk of these videos are real. I just don't. I know if you get Snap, you can't have a whole bunch of assets. And we keep seeing these people with, obviously they're on a phone, and they've got eyelashes and nose rings and everything else. I think, and they're making money with the clicks and the views. So I don't think those are the real people. Like tomorrow, I've told you, I am going to go to Walmart and take some pictures. I want to see people in there, complaining. And if you get and look yourself, no, ladies don't, guys, if you're going to go to Walmart this weekend, go and just look for yourself. If you don't see a huge uproar, then they've lost this battle as well. Obviously, people need their food, but I'm pretty sure most people who have children gonna find a way to get these kids fed. I think it's all a complete charade. I think it's a shell game. And I'm pretty sure if you're going to spend millions, tens of millions on a No Kings rally, you better find a way to get these people some food. Where's BLM? BLM, Black Lives Matter. Raised a whole bunch of money. Are you not going to try and feed people? Doesn't make any sense to me.
Many House members have echoed the same hypocrisy, and I'm not going to waste our time with it this morning, but I do want to leave you with this quote from Chuck Schumer, because he is the actual architect of the shutdown. He is the one that is preventing the Senate Democrats from doing the right thing. In March of this year, as you know, he voted on the same CR to avert a shutdown. And he said then, quote, in his speech on the Senate floor and in a bunch of interviews, this is what he said on the Senate floor, quote, the CR was certainly bad, but a shutdown would be 15 or 20 times worse. It was a vote of principle. And today, Chuck Schumer, entirely void of principle, by his own estimation, said, quote, every day gets better for his party. Tell that to the millions of American families facing a hunger crisis now as a direct result of his failed leadership and shenanigans. Those Democrats have all collectively voted 14 times over the last several weeks to reject the clean continuing resolution to fund the government, and they've made it abundantly clear they're going to continue to do that, to hold the American people hostage, so long as it serves their political interest, to look tough to the leftist radicals in their base. Republicans have done our part to end the government, the Democrat shutdown, and now it's time for Democrats to do theirs. The path forward is simple. Please, please, every American who is concerned about this, every American that is feeling the harm, you should call the Senate Democrats and tell them to stop the nonsense. Echo the voices of the unions, of the airlines, of hardworking people everywhere, and tell them to stop doing this and open the government. We have to do that. 42 million Americans are set to miss meals starting tomorrow.
No, it's not 42 million Americans, 42 million people. Now, at some point, I'll let him finish, but at some point, stop asking these people to dance with you. Stop continuing to ask the girl to dance with you. If she doesn't want to dance with you, stop. Your messaging is fine at this point. You've told everybody, go call them. Right now, it seems like the Republicans, and it comes across, the Republicans are desperate to get them to sign it. When I think you should take the other way of showing this. Hey, come out with your daily press conference and to say it's day 31 where the Democrats have decided they're going to continue starving people. Put it that way. Stop asking them to sign it. I don't care if they sign it at this point. I really don't. Most of us are realizing right now the government being shut down doesn't affect us. The military still getting paid? Yep. They're still defending the country? Yes. President Trump still doing what he's got to do? Yes. I don't care. I don't care. Stop asking them. I do care about people not being able to get fed, but at this point, Billy Joel said it, I didn't start the fire. We did not start this fire. They did. Let them catch some heat. You're good. We're behind you 100%. I know there's been some people who got pissed off at me because I'm saying, yeah, don't do it. Don't open it back up. And if you do open it back up, make people reapply. Make them show. I think that's why the other lady said, other judge doesn't want IDs, because at that point, you're going to have to go back into the food stamp office and apply all over again. You remember another aspect of the big, beautiful bill that's causing problems. I think you remember. One of the big things with the big, beautiful bill in regards to food stamps is that there is now, it's actually the law, that you have to have 80 hours of work or community service per month. Very low bar, 80 hours a month. So that's another thing they're trying to put away. They don't want people to have to, quote, qualify. That was in the big, beautiful bill. So the continuing resolution that they have to sign includes all of these things. Some of the Democrats are calling them poison pills. Because what do you mean they got to work? Yeah, they got to work. The idea is this is supposed to be a bridge, not a hammock. You're not supposed to get food stamps and just hang out in the sun. You're supposed to go to work. Maybe dirty work, maybe hard work. But it's work nonetheless. You just don't get free stuff anymore. That's why the Democrats are pissed off. Because they now know that if this continuing resolution gets signed, every one of these people are going to have to go through a qualification, and they're going to have to report, and they're going to have to put 80 hours in someplace. That's the problem. A lot of people aren't understanding how this ties to the big, beautiful bill.
And this should be the easiest vote they've ever taken in their lives. I don't want to belabor this point any longer, because I'm delighted to introduce you to our guest for the daily press conference here. Everybody knows Brooke Rollins, the incomparable, as I call her, the incomparable Brooke Rollins. She leads the U.S. Department of Agriculture. And, of course, her department operates and oversees SNAP benefits to all these tens of millions of Americans. We're fortunate to have her here today. She's going to talk about the devastating effects of the Democrats' decisions on all this. And I'm delighted to give her the podium now. Brooke, so thanks so much for being here. Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Mike. Mr. Speaker. Really great to be here with everyone. I was reminded I was in the Speaker's backyard in Louisiana over the weekend and on Friday, and we went to a restaurant there, and our waiter by the name of Joe was wonderful. He was a multi-generational Louisiana, New Orleans, and he was our server, and he was just so impressive. And towards the end, he brought up that, well, this is a job he had to take because he was furloughed and so was not making any money, and he worked for the federal government. He didn't know who I was. And I said, well, Joe, I can appreciate that. You know, I'm sort of in that world as well. And I said, where do you work? And he said, well, I work for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in their New Orleans office as part of the financial team. And so it just really brought home for me, to echo what Mike said, just thanking so many thousands of federal workers who are showing up, who are still doing their job, who aren't getting paid, those that are now concerned about putting food on the table and making their mortgages and paying their rent, but to be out in the country.
She said that earlier, and it made me like, what do you mean? Paying their mortgages. I'd love to know how many people have an asset like a house paying a mortgage and are on food stamps. I hadn't heard that before. That I don't know if that was a slip of the tongue or is it something new. I thought you couldn't own assets and be on public assistance. You guys can let me know in the comments. I didn't know you could own a home and be on food stamps.
In Indiana yesterday and understand the real sort of pain that's being felt. But just to echo a couple of the themes that Speaker Johnson talked about, again, the idea that the Democrats have now for 14 different votes voted to keep the government closed is absolutely unconscionable. Every day, they hold the federal government hostage. They are leaving millions of families' livelihoods and critical benefits, including SNAP, hanging in the balance. Of course, we all know the 13,000 air traffic controllers working without pay, many turning to Uber, taking second jobs in restaurants, etc., as this shutdown continues. Hundreds of thousands of federal employees are not receiving a paycheck. Thousands of small business loans are going unapproved each month because of the shutdown, equating to almost $4 billion in capital being taken out of the pockets of small business owners across this country, truly the backbone of our economy. It is a fact that Democrats shut down the government over free health care for illegal aliens and their $1.5 trillion partisan wish list. Democrats need to stop playing politics with the livelihoods of hardworking Americans and open the government now by voting for the clean resolution. We are here today because SNAP benefits run dry tomorrow. So the truth has finally revealed itself, hasn't it? Democrats' support for programs like SNAP is now reduced to cynical control over people's lives. This last month has shown that the party who constantly says it puts people over politics does the complete opposite. Millions of Americans, as of tomorrow, will no longer receive SNAP and potentially WIC or even a paycheck. Democrats have instigated a disgusting dereliction of duty unlike anything I have seen in all my years doing this work. all to favor illegal aliens and other radical far-left policies that benefit only a small, tiny sliver of their base. I am embarrassed for Chuck Schumer. He is going out of his way to please the likes of Zohran Mamdani, a man who is polarizing America with his socialist rhetoric and anti-American principles.
By the way, I don't know if you saw, I should have downloaded the video. Now Zohran Mamdani is going to try the same thing Newsom tried, where if you own a business in New York and you decide to leave and move someplace else, they're going to tax you. They're going to keep taxing you on the money that you were making in New York. Don't know how you're going to do that. See, everything that, and I bring this up because this is what the Democrats are doing. They have no ability to do anything. And all Zohran wants to do is the same thing these Democrats want to do, is they want to get it to the court system. They know immediately they will be sued. They know immediately if you try to tax a business that's moving to Texas, they're going to tell you to go pound sand, and then they're going to have to go to court and fight it, and you're hoping that you get, a commie judge. The Democrats have thought this out for quite some time, and they had fail-safes built in. And those fail-safes are lower-level judges. And so I don't know if President Trump has any option but to drop the nuclear option.
The very essence of government responsibility is to the citizens who live and work here to protect their interests first, unless you are a Democrat in the United States Senate. Chuck Schumer and the Democrats are doing all this because they fear the socialists and the radicals to their left. Ironically, in leaving American families hungry and American children without food, they are giving a preview of what those socialists will do to every one of us if they ever take power.
And you know what else? To tell you this, she was talking about, and she was talking about this story about the server waiter who was waiting on her and Mike Johnson in a restaurant. He says he had to take a second job because he got furloughed. Why is it that people who were getting furloughed have the ambition and desire and need to get a different job during the interim, but the welfare queens don't? Why is it that anybody who has a family and wants to be a productive member of society will find that other job? They will drive an Uber. They will drive for Instacart or DoorDash. They will go and get a job in a restaurant. But the other ones are just making TikTok videos and complaining about it. Something wrong with that.
What you're really seeing here is the end of the Democrats as a responsible party of government. A party that ends governance, a party that ignores Americans, a party that cannot master the most basic principles and processes of government, is a party that cannot be trusted with the reins of power.
All right, so she hit something there that I've been saying. They have nothing. I don't know how we got here. I don't know how they got to be a party with zero ideas, zero functionality, zero ability to provide people with a meaningful message. To the point now, all they have is lower court judges. Let that sink in real quick here. As you're hearing all this and watching everything, you have to realize at this point, this party is no longer viable. Which makes you wonder, why are they all trying to be Democrats? Why are you not doing something different? Why are you still in lockstep with Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries? What do they have on you? What do they have on you that's forcing you to basically destroy America for the benefit of newcomers? See, there's something really wrong with these people. I can't believe that there are 50 senators and 200 people in the House, all of them, which have no ideas to provide something for America. No, nothing. Why would you continue to be a Democrat when your leaders have no ideas? What the hell are you doing as a politician? You're wasting time. Your donors are going to dry up because there's nothing to donate for. What are you doing? they don't seem to have an answer, which makes them dangerous.
It isn't oriented toward anything but the end of the system in which it exists. SNAP is arguably just the beginning. The logical and inevitable end to where this all goes is the Democrats and the whole superstructure of constitutional government. President Trump has made it clear, reopen the government, get government funding back on solid footing, restore the confidence of American families who count on programs like SNAP, and stop treating them and their well-being as pawns in a political game, according to the Democrats. Prioritize American citizens, prioritize American families, and prioritize American children. I would like to make a quick note and then want to obviously leave lots of time for questions. Yesterday, I was in Indiana, and I was visiting a soybean farm, sixth generation soybean farm, the Everetts. And they have about 1,500 acres right outside of Indianapolis. We were harvesting corn, but they also do soybeans. And as I was there, it occurred to me that what President Trump has been doing over the last week or weeks in fighting across the world to open up markets for American farmers, for American families, while the Democrats are back here playing political games. It must stop. We must get the government open, and our citizens and these voters and our taxpayers and our families and our children expect no less. Thank you.
Many of you guys know I'm a Dolphins fan. I used to have a Dolphins channel. Last night, Robin and I went down to watch the Dolphins get spanked yet once again. And I find it odd because I know when I go to the stadium, I am not looking at 70,000 Republicans. I know I'm looking at a very diverse crowd, a hugely diverse crowd. A lot of them Hispanic, a lot of black. I mean, it's amazing. It's a melting pot in the stadium down here in South Florida. And then yesterday we played Baltimore, the Ravens, who kicked our butt, and there was a huge contingent of people from Baltimore. From Baltimore. As we were going up the escalator, Robin saw a lady adorned in Ravens gear, and she struck up a conversation with her, which you're not supposed to do with the opposing team. Robin didn't know any better, so she was talking to the lady. And then the lady goes, yeah, we flew down from Baltimore to watch the football game. More than likely, this black woman, probably a Democrat, flew down here to watch a football game with 70,000 other people. And I happened to, peruse the audience, and I just said to myself, this is America. You're not Republican, you're not Democrat, you're not black, you're not white, you're not Hispanic, you're a Ravens fan or a Dolphins fan. You're purple or aqua. Nobody cared what your political affiliation is. And I also have to know that as you look around the stadium that these are all people that are working or have their own money. They have flown down here, or if you're here, you're here. It's not cheap to park. The tickets, even though they suck, the tickets aren't cheap. And all the concessions and merchandise that go along with it, none of that's cheap. These are all people who are doing something with their lives. I cannot fathom that there are 42 million real people on food stamps. You can't convince me of that. I think there's some fudgy numbers there that the Democrats are worried about people finding out. I believe that there are Democrats who are backdooring some SNAP payments. There is no way 42 million people are on food stamps. People, not Americans. 42 million people would be nearly 15 to 19% of the population of the entire country, which means in a stadium full of 70,000 people, 10,000 of those people, 12,000 of those people are supposedly on food stamps. The math doesn't math. Tell me I'm wrong. Where you go, when you go to whatever it is you do for entertainment, And you look around and like, yeah, I don't know who the Republicans are. I don't know who the Democrats are. But they're all here doing something. You're in a restaurant. You're in a buffet. You're in a calabash in North Carolina. You're doing something, and you have to stop for a second. I want you to do that this weekend. Whatever you're doing, pull back and look at the spectrum in front of you, and then say to yourself, 2 out of every 10 people is on food stamps. You're at a fair. You're at a festival. Something. It doesn't make any sense. A NASCAR race. Anything, a basketball game. They are trying to tell us that 2 out of every 10 people is on food stamps. Unless they're trying to say it's a superlative and that nobody goes to a football game who's on food stamps. Wow.
All right, take a few questions. I haven't. The president's been very busy. He was in, Asia doing all these trade agreements. I've been a little busy, as you know. We haven't spoken since he returned. I sent him a text earlier this morning. I saw that as well. What you're seeing is an expression of the president's anger at the situation. He is as angry as I am and the American people are about this madness. And he just desperately wants the government to be reopened so that all these resources can flow to the people who need it so much. Look, I'll just say this in general. As I've said many times about the filibuster, it's not my call. I don't have a say in this. It's a Senate chamber issue. We don't have that in the House, as you know. But the filibuster has traditionally been viewed as a very important safeguard. If the shoe was on the other foot, I don't think our team would like it. The Democrats, look.
All right, that's where I want to stop. Him, right there. So what has come up, and some people have been asking, what is the nuclear option? Define the nuclear option. The nuclear option is basically doing away with the filibuster. The filibuster is the reason we're in this situation right now. The filibuster requires 60 votes, and you've heard it over and over about this entire shutdown. You need 60 votes to open a government. The filibuster is what allows that. The filibuster is that stupid mechanism that they're all upholding. At any point, it can be cast aside and go to a simple majority, which means everything President Trump wants to do more than likely would get approved. The government would reopen, that's the least of it. And everything else he wants to do would get approved. It would basically nullify the Democrat Party. The problem is Mike Johnson and who's the other one here? What's his name? John Thune have rejected President Trump's call to go ahead and nuke the filibuster and go to the nuclear option, which is make it a majority rule. And now Thune doesn't want to do it either. And the problem we are right now is what he just said. We are governed by not so strong men and women. Because let me just let you hear what he just said again, because some of you guys may not have heard that last line where I stopped it. Let me just bring that back about 10 seconds. All right, I want you to hear this.
Must get the government open, and our citizens and these voters and our taxpayers and our families and our children expect no less. Thank you all.
All right, take a few questions. I haven't. The president's been very busy. He was in, Asia doing all these trade agreements. I've been a little busy, as you know. We haven't spoken since he returned. I sent him a text earlier this morning. I saw that as well. What you're seeing is an expression of the president's anger at the situation. He is as angry as I am and the American people are about this madness. And he just desperately wants the government to be reopened so that all these resources can flow to the people who need it so much. Look, I'll just say this in general. As I've said many times about the filibuster, it's not my call. I don't have a say in this. It's a Senate chamber issue. We don't have that in the House, as you know. But the filibuster has traditionally been viewed as a very important safeguard. If the shoe is on the other foot, I don't think our team would like it. The Democrats...
That's the problem. There are a lot of people out there, politicians, people in the media, all complaining that if the Democrats get back in power, they'll, we can't do it because then they'll use it to their advantage. I'm going to ask you a question before I let him finish, because I got a lot to say about this. Do any of you think that the Democrats wouldn't use it if they were in this position? I'm going to let you just dwell on that for a second. Think to yourself, if the Democrats had the ability to nuke the filibuster, do you think they'd do it? Then we're going to come back to that.
Look, they've said what they would do. They would pack the Supreme Court. They would make Puerto Rico and D.C. states. They would ban firearms. They would do all sorts of things that would be very harmful for the country. And
Okay, Mike, you know it. They didn't go away. They haven't stopped. They didn't change their mind. They just aren't in power. If somehow they got back in power, you're telling me you don't think they would do that? If you don't think they would do that, and I'm talking to you, then you haven't been paying attention the last 4 years. They have shown they will do anything and everything to retain power, especially to get rid of MAGA and President Trump. If somehow they were to win the Senate and win the House and had overwhelming numbers, has anybody not realized that they would specifically do that? You get guys like Rand Paul, and it just pisses me off that these lily-lipped people don't understand. You're not protecting us. You're probably protecting yourself. Rand Paul said ending the filibuster might sound convenient in the short term, but it's a dangerous move. The filibuster is the greatest protection the minority has in the Senate. Remove it now, and the same tool will be used against conservatives the next time Democrats control the Senate. That's just it. If we use it, they won't control anything. They would be destroyed. Barry, how do you know that? Because we would put voter ID in. We'd pass a law. All of the executive orders that President Trump is doing would be codified, and they would actually be laws. So voter ID, law. No boys and women's sports, law. Pass it, pass it, pass it, pass it. If they can't have, if voter ID is required, Democrat Party goes away. Done. So your entire argument here, your poussoir argument, your cuck argument about we can't do it to the, because if we do it, they might do it. I don't know, maybe I'm in a sports background, but my idea is to eliminate my opponent, my adversary. The people who want to take me out, I want to make sure they are no longer contenders. I will do anything to make sure I can win. And I got people who are in Congress going, well, we can't do it because, that might be bad. And I asked you the question, what do you think they will do if they were in this position? If somehow they were able to cheat, lie, whatever they could do, if they could have gotten Kamala over the line, what do you think they would have done? And yet we have Republicans who are like, no, don't do that. That would be too mean.
Safeguard in the Senate has always been the filibuster. But again, not my issue, not something I get to even weigh in on. My opinion on this is not relevant. It's the senators. But I think that it just is another expression of the frustration, of the pressure that is being felt, the anger by the president and by me and all of us that we're in this situation at all. Do your basic job. I'm going to say this again. We have put zero Republican policy priorities on the CR. It is Biden-level policies and spending. They have no excuse at all not to support it. They have no excuse to put all this pain on the American people, except that for what we've just articulated and repeated here every day, they want to give a showing to the radical left fringes of their base, and they want to give illegal benefits or benefits back to illegal aliens and non-citizens and all the.
So how do you stop that? You stop that by destroying them. I put up a poll earlier. I said, should Trump go with the nuclear option? 65% of people said yes. 19% said no. 17% said they don't even know what the nuclear option is. So let's put that aside. And there's 20% of Republicans, I assume Republicans, who don't want President Trump to force in the nuclear option. Why? Tell me why. And you have to say, because I saw one comment and somebody says it's dangerous. Why is it dangerous? If for an instant, do you think that they wouldn't do it? If they were able to do a break the filibuster to get rid of gun rights, do you think they'd do it? Yeah, they'd do it. We just watched for 4 years, and every single week it seems like we're hearing more stuff that they did to take over this country, the subterfuge. And you're thinking if they get it, they might hurt us?
Other crazy stuff that they've claimed. Yeah.
Can I respond?
Sure.
I just very quickly, I have not spoken to the president either since last night, but let me say this. He is, and I've been next to him for almost 9 or 10 years now. He is so resolutely focused on delivering for the American people. All day, every day, 7 days a week, 20 hours a day. This is what he is thinking about. And as the world's greatest deal maker, from his perspective, the way he thinks out of the box as a businessman is how do we end this nonsense, and how do we again open the government, and how do we support these families that need support?
Yeah, go ahead. I'd already called on him. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah.
Madam Secretary, question to you. So I know you addressed the contingency fund, but SNAP has never run out of funding in its 60-year history. That's during a shutdown. Why were past administrations able to find funding to keep it afloat in a shutdown that you can't?
Well, let me see.
Okay, so the question was a butthole reporter saying we've never run out of funding before. Now remember, she had just answered, and Mike Johnson had just answered about how the flow of money actually works. Hey, well, if it's never run out before, tell me why now all of a sudden you can't find the money. Were you not paying attention, or did you not understand? What part of what she said, Mike Johnson said, do you not understand? These people are amazing.
Chart I want to show you all on the SNAP funding. My charts are slightly wanky because our print shop is closed because we're furloughed. So it was a little arts and crafts time over at USDA early this morning. So this is the chart of the SNAP program. Now I know everyone can't see this, but this goes back to October of 2023. And I want everyone to follow. This is the red line that under Joe Biden, you see an almost 30% increase in the cost of the SNAP program over the 4 years that President Biden and the USDA was overseeing it with Congress funding it. And you see now the downward trend since President Trump was reelected November, and we've had about 650,000 people move off of SNAP since President Trump was elected. A press conference for another time. That's obviously the goal of all these programs, is to move families into real work and the dignity of that. I say that because the astronomical costs of the SNAP program under Joe Biden was historical, it was unprecedented, and we don't have the same levels of funding that were there in the past.
And you notice nobody asked a single question of Karine Jean-Pierre, or couldn't ask Biden, hey, why did the SNAP things shoot up? You were never getting those questions. Hey, you look at this dress. Oh, wow, it shot through the roof. Why all of a sudden did that happen? You're asking about historical references of SNAP not running out of money. Well, you also didn't have a vertical graph of 30 to 40% more either. Where did that money come from? I'll give you a hint. That's why they wanted to tax everybody with a $600 Venmo account. They needed to keep raising people's taxes. These people are stupid. That's where the money came from.
By the way, for 1 month, we have Band-Aided and bubble-gummed and duct-taped this deal to get this 1 month of funding in for SNAP, the $9 billion. Thank you.
Quick follow-up. I mean, because reality is setting in for a lot of people this weekend, Minister, what do you say to the millions of people who stand to lose their food stamp benefits? What should they do?
Okay, so the question was, what do you say to the people who stand to lose their benefits? What do they do? Well, first and foremost, before I give you my answer, did you ask Chuck Schumer? Did you ask Hakeem Jeffries? And then I would give the answer.
My message to America is first, the fact that your government is failing you right now. That poverty is not red or blue. It is not a Republican or Democrat issue. It doesn't matter who you voted for or even if you voted. That if you are in a position where you can't feed your family and you're relying on that $187 a month for an average family in the SNAP program.
That's another thing. These numbers aren't jiving to me. $187 a month. $9 billion. And we see some of the welfare queens and what they're buying. There's a lot more than $187 a month going out per person. Maybe that's an average. I don't know. But still, $187.
That we have failed you. But I think what's so important, and this is why we keep hammering this, the Republicans have voted over and over and over again to open this government so that these funds don't stop. And for 14 different times, the Democrats have said, no, we are going to hold hostage the most vulnerable families in this country so that we can get our left-wing radical agenda into the government and the governing structure. And to that, President Trump, Speaker Johnson, Majority Leader Thune have said absolutely not. And we're very grateful for that. Please vote yes. We implore the Democrats in the Senate to vote yes to get this government open and these people the benefits that they need to feed their families.
Notice, and I try to be fair, the reporter asked a question that she didn't answer. And she should have known the answer, because I just kind of told you. And like, why all of a sudden in the history of this is there finally no money left over? And that's the question. Why is there no money left over? She knows the answer. You know the answer. The answer is because in the big, beautiful bill, we took out giving this stuff to newcomers and other people like that. That's in the law. The Democrats have chosen to run away from the law. The law that was duly passed, they don't want us to basically implement. That's the answer to the question.
It's clarified. When she says we have failed you, she means we, the Democrats, okay? Because as we've just explained, Republicans have voted 14 times to get this done. The president has pleaded with Schumer and Hakeem to open the government, and they told them no. We're doing everything we can. The Republicans, they say, well, the Republicans are in charge of the federal government. Why can't they get this done? It's simple math. We need 60 votes in the Senate. We only have 53 Republicans. We have to have Democrats. It is the Democrats alone who are failing the American people. And this administration, every cabinet secretary, it's not just Secretary Rollins, every cabinet secretary is bending over backwards to make sure that the American people are served and they get what they need. But we are not magicians. We cannot wave a magic wand. The funds have run out because the Democrats are playing games. And that's why we've been here every day this month pleading with them to do the right thing. And they do not care.
So what he just described is what I opened this with. He goes, I don't have a magic wand. We can't make it appear. Which is specifically what these judges are saying. Go find it someplace. I mean, they're acting like they're mob bookies or something. You better have my money on Tuesday. We're going to break some heads. I don't have it. I can't wave a magic wand. It's not there. So I'm going to need some clarity from you, Your Honor. Where am I supposed to get it from? So you can see where this is going. And I want you to just remember what President Trump said. Before we quit, I will show you again. He did not say, okay, we'll pay them. He specifically said, well, show me how, which is what Mike Johnson just said. I don't have a magic wand. The law doesn't tell me to do that. The law is pretty much black and white.
Shown how callous they are. They do not care that people are suffering. And that's who's failed them. It's not the government overall. It's the Democrats who are holding up the government for working for the people. It's a very important thing. Jay, go ahead.
You undoubtedly see some of the modest progress in the Senate. At least people are talking about spending, 26 spending. Number one, I want to get your sense for where things are, your reaction to that, and would you bring the House back if they have some sort of agreement on
Yeah, look, the whole point of this, very important reminder, the reason we're in this mess is because they voted against the clean CR. What was the point of the CR? The CR was merely to buy us 7 additional weeks to finish the funding of the government, the appropriations process. We were working on that in bipartisan fashion and bicameral fashion. As you know, we had a conference committee set to go on 3 appropriations bills that had passed out of the House. They didn't match the Senate exactly. They were going to work through that. That's the process. And our appropriators, the members of Congress who work on all this funding every day, are raring to go. In both parties, in both chambers, they want to get back to that work, and that is the whole point. Chuck Schumer and the leadership are holding that process up. So am I optimistic that we can get back to that? Yes, but we can't do any of it until they take the simple step to vote on that additional time. It's just a stopgap funding measure to make all these services and funding flow to the people so that we can finish that work. They're holding it up. So I'm heartened, Jay, that we have members on both sides. I had a meeting with the chairman of our Appropriations Committee in my office yesterday afternoon. Tom Cole came in. We were talking about the latest and what those appropriators are doing, the things they're working on. I meet with Leader Thune about it almost daily on the subject. We are ready. The next packages of funding bills are being prepared. And yes, we want to pass that off the House as soon as possible. We want to get all 12 appropriations bills done because we're returning to regular order. That's been a commitment of mine since I became the Speaker 2 years ago, and it's something that Congress must do to be better stewards of taxpayer dollars. So we don't have, I'm using your handy chart here, so we don't have this spike in spending. We have more responsible spending. The only way to get this, to make the government work better and more efficiently for the people, is to go through that stewardship process, that important obligation that the founders intended and that we have used to respect, but we haven't in a long time. So all of this is entwined in that. We've got to get Congress working again. We're anxious to do it, and the sooner we can get back here and get the lights on, the better. But the number one mission of Congress right now is to turn the government back on. There's too many people's lives and health and hunger at stake. This is not a game. They've got to stop playing games. Remember this, too. The first time in U.S. history that any party has had the audacity to do what the Democrats and the Senate are doing right now. No one ever before has shut the government down over a clean, nonpartisan CR, because it would have been unthinkable until now. And you need to remind them of that. Yes, ma'am. Last one.
Okay, so in his own words, this is the first time in American history that a party has decided they are not going to do their job and they're going to just let it go and shut down the government. So I'm going to ask you the question again, the 20% of people who said the nuclear option shouldn't be used, they're using it. You're watching it play out right now. You are seeing them use whatever nuclear ability they have to keep everything shut down. What makes you think, again, given the opportunity, that they wouldn't do it right back to us if they were in the same situation? You think that somehow they would be afraid that the Republicans might get mad the next time? Remember who these people are. These are the people who are putting that nutbag into Minneapolis, the Somalian dude. These are the people, including Hakeem Jeffries, who've come out at this point and endorsed Zorhan. These are the people who are openly professing their love for communism. Don't think so?
The one beautiful bill contained numerous Medicaid anti-fraud measures. Senator Tuberville recently highlighted a slew of aliens are receiving these SNAP benefits. Are there any plans to do the same with SNAP and totally reform it just to ensure that it's available only to U.S. citizens?
You want to
Yes, in fact, we've already done that. Now, so a couple of quick things on I guess the silver lining in all of this is that we're having a national conversation on our SNAP program, that this has sort of shined a light on a program that, especially under the last administration, has just become so bloated, so broken, so dysfunctional, so corrupt that it is astonishing when you dig in. So 3 important things on that. The first, I talked about the extraordinary explosion of benefits under the last administration. And what happened was that the money that was going out was zero accountability. So one of the very first things we did when I was sworn in was send a letter to all the states and to remind everyone the SNAP program is administered through the states and the governor's office. So send a letter to all the states saying no more illegal aliens on SNAP, period, full stop. So that's already
and there, ring the bell. That's the big reason. If they've imported the third world, that third world needs food. And that third world they're counting on for votes, i.e. Somalia, i.e. New York City. You got to see the big picture when you're saying, hey, we shouldn't do it to them because they would never do it to us, but they're doing it to us.
Rule of this administration. We're working to enforce it every single day. The second thing is we began a very serious investigation into a lot of the fraud and abuse that we kept getting anecdotal stories of that no one was doing anything about. And so just in the last, I think, 6 months, we've had major dozens of arrests, people going to jail, fraudulent activity of 50 million here. One guy's registered for SNAP in 6 different states. I mean, it's one thing after another. So we are taking that extremely, extremely seriously, and we'll continue to do so. And then the third thing on this is that for the first time ever, we, the USDA, have asked the states for their data so that we can ensure that taxpayer dollars are being spent appropriately.
You hear what now you're seeing behind the curtain. These are the reasons why they don't want to sign the CR. They are terrified. The eyeballs are looking at the data and trying to figure out who is this person? Who is this person? Why are they on? Why are they even getting SNAP? I think a lot of people forgot Doge. I think people thought Doge went away, where Doge has been working very, very diligently, quietly behind the scenes, and they're finding all this stuff, amazing amount of stuff of fraud, corruption, theft. They're already executing their plan, and they've been executing it.
Not surprisingly, all of the red states said, yes, please help us with this. We want to do the right thing. We want to make sure there's not all this corruption and fraud. By the way, 2 blue state-led governors also leaned in, Colorado and North Carolina, alongside every one of the red governors. But the other blue states, California, Oregon, New York, Washington, all of them actually sued us and said, oh no, we're not going to give you any data. So the problem is you have an extremely corrupt program, but up until this administration and with President Trump's direct focus on this and making sure every taxpayer dollar is spent appropriately, we've never really had the opportunity to dig in. So we're going to be talking a lot more about SNAP reform. We've got a lot of people listening now, which is very, very helpful, and to take that program back to its original intent of helping those who are truly needy in our communities, but not to have a massive welfare benefit where so many people are taking advantage of it that shouldn't be.
And I just want to add briefly, just zoom out a little bit. This is a stark contrast between the two parties, the 2 major parties in this country. We talk about the split screen in here very often. On this issue, with regard to reducing fraud, waste, and abuse in government, look, America is the greatest nation in the history of the world. We're the most powerful, most successful, most free, most benevolent nation that's ever been. Part of our benevolence, part of the spirit of America is that we do have these safety net programs. We support that. We have an extraordinary cabinet, like Brooke Rollins here, Secretary Rollins, who is handling and administrating the SNAP program is a good example of that. Medicaid is a good example. Why were they designed and why are they so important and why do we all support those ideas? Because sometimes people really can't take care of themselves. You know, you have the elderly, the disabled, young pregnant women, for example, who are single and they're down on their luck and they need some help. SNAP and Medicaid and these other programs were intended to be a temporary safety net to help people to get back on their feet. But they
temporary. They were designed to be bridges, temporary, to get you back on your feet, to take you from the situation that causes you distress to putting you back on the road to being productive. That's not where it is. That's not where it's been for quite some time. Right now, it is a complete lifestyle. I'm getting mine. At this point, I don't know what to believe. Are these women really having babies just to stay at home? It's disgusting. But the fact that nobody has put a microscope on this stuff for decades, that answers the first question. Why all of a sudden? Well, because we know that there's corruption.
Have been abused. And there are some big government advocates, like the Marxists, like the socialists, who want the government to take over everything and supply everything for everybody. But guess what? If the government can give you everything, it can take it away as well, and your freedom is sacrificed. Socialism, don't get me started, has been a great scourge on humanity. I mean, the tens of millions of innocent people in the 20th century alone have died because of it. America stands for something better than that, something different. But the programs don't work if they're loaded down with fraud and abuse. And every single person in this room and every American of common sense should understand the necessity of having people in office, a president in the White House, a cabinet full of secretaries who are dedicated to this in every division of the federal government, and Republicans in Congress leading on this, to root out that fraud, waste, and abuse so the programs can survive. We did that in the One Big Beautiful Bill, in the Working Families Tax Cut. With Medicaid, we went into that and we eliminated the fraud, waste, and abuse. We got able-bodied young men without dependents off the program. They were never intended to be there. They're sitting around on their couches playing video games. Yes, that's an actual study. And they're siphoning the resources away from elderly people, disabled people, and young women who desperately need it. And so the funds were being depleted. We shouldn't go for that. And illegal aliens were never intended to be on any of these programs. They're for U.S. citizens only, law-abiding citizens. This is the team. The Republicans will fix that and save those programs for the country. And the Democrats will continue to abuse it. They sued the USDA for simply asking them to tell them how many illegal aliens are on the programs in California and New York and these other states. They sued them. You need to take account of what people are doing here in each party, the leaders and the President of the United States. We are trying to get government to work more efficiently and effectively for the people, and we are getting stopped and hindered by political games by Democrats. And that's why we're so frustrated. It's got to come to an end. Thank you all for being here this morning.
Thank you, everyone.
You know, he mentioned Marxist and socialist. So I'm going to go back to that question. Why would we use the nuclear option? Because I truly believe we are in the end game. I really do. I think we're witnessing a continuation of the thing that they tried to do to Trump in his first term. And then they tried to kill him, sabotage his presidency, and then kill him when that didn't work. Impeachment after impeachment. It didn't work. Now they've got a new strategy. If you can't see that the Democrats right now are engaged in a literal insurrection and they refuse to enforce the law, they refuse to even recognize the law. And we have people on the Republican side who are like, we shouldn't go full bore right now. And so part of their strategy is working because it's working to fracture Trump's support. This should be 100%. Yes, do it. Do whatever you need to do to stop this. We are in the midst of a color revolution. If you don't know what a color revolution is, go look that up. The deep state has turned their strategies and ideology on the American people. They want a regime change. Not just Trump, but everything to do with America. They want it gone. I'm not making it up. They're using psychological information warfare. All of it is all wrapped into one big gaslighting MK Ultra thing, including the media. This enemy will use anything and everything that they possibly can to smear Trump and derail his momentum. What's the dude from Connecticut? Chris Hines was out there saying today, oh, Trump doesn't want to get people back into Congress because they're hiding from Epstein. They heard what you heard. They heard President Trump say often, I am going to obliterate the deep state. And because he said that, and they can obviously see he's trying, he's gone after USAID, the NGOs, PBS, NPR, all these different funneling, money laundering hornet's nests he's destroyed. And this is the big kahuna. This SNAP program, I believe, is so ripe with fraud and abuse that once they start pulling back, there are going to be a lot of people who are going to go to jail. But now you people, you Americans, whether you believe it or not, this is the newest age of warfare. They're coming for you. For those that say that nuking the filibuster is a slippery slope, wake up. I'm not going to call you blind. I'm going to call you a little bit uneducated. We are already standing at the bottom of that so-called slippery slope. We've already slid down it. How do you know? Because look at what happened with Arctic frost. Look at what they've been doing, how they've been trying to be so subversive, how they've been wiretapping people and doing all kinds of things. Impeaching, using the media to lie. You're already at the bottom of that slope looking up. They've crossed every line, including trying to kill this man. What you're not understanding is we're already at war. And there's a lot of people who just don't understand that and don't want to acknowledge it. You see, rules went out the window. You're seeing rules go out the window. You're seeing judges like, I'm not following anything. I'm just saying go do it. There are no more rules. There is no honor amongst these people. And when you're facing an opponent who doesn't have any honor, you're in trouble. You better learn how to be a street fighter real quick. You know, you could go ahead and watch the worst MMA fight. Somebody's getting their head bashed in. And they're bleeding from their face, and after the fight's over, it's like, yeah, it's a good one. I can't see anything, but yeah, that was a good fight. There's still honor. At the end of the football game last night, they spanked the Miami Dolphins, and they all walk and they shake hands. Some of them exchange jerseys. There's no honor with these Democrats. They are playing for keeps. If you don't realize what these Marxists, communist, socialist, loving people want, you're not paying attention. It's amazing to me. You're watching kids get abused. You're watching women be taken advantage of. You're watching college kids be indoctrinated. They don't care about anything right or wrong. To them, it's victory or defeat, and all they want to do is win. And many of you are going to succumb. Many of you, if you don't wake up, you're going to be part of the fallen. The Democrats intentionally left the border open. You saw the chart, President Trump, that saved his life. You see this chart? Oh, they flooded the nation with millions of newcomers. They harbor them in so-called sanctuary cities. What the hell is a sanctuary city? Making up your own laws in your different burgs and saying, hey, we're a sanctuary city. They could all come here. And then they elect their mayors. They don't want any election security. They don't want voter ID. They're encouraging newcomers to vote, and that's how they're partly stealing elections. And you're telling me, well, we can't do it because the Democrats, if they get in power, they might do it. They're already doing it. We are so under attack from within. And the worst part about it is there are too many people who think that this is about playing nice. It's no longer about playing nice. It's about survival. Did you ever think that a small little white girl would get on a train and somebody would just slice her neck? Would you ever think that some of the things you've seen happen, that people who can't even read or write the language would be driving big rigs and plow through people? Did you ever think you'd see the biggest city in the country being run by a radical communist? They're already waging war against the American people. It's just that some people don't know they're in battle. You got to wake up, those of you who are not awake. They will do anything to retain power, or in this instance, to regain power. And that's why they don't want Trump. They don't like ICE. They don't like the military. They don't want any of these newcomers deported. That's their foot soldiers. That's also why they don't want election security and voter ID. By the way, this is probably treason on the highest level. And you're still worried about what would happen if they get in power. People don't understand, don't seem to want to understand. This is tough for me to say. You were looking at people who don't want any coexistence with you. There is no getting along. There is not. That's not going to happen. Like I mentioned at the football game, I was coexisting with 70,000 people. And some were from the opposition, but we were having a good time. That's not the kind of coexistence they want. You know what Zohar Mandami is from. You understand the ideology of those people. And a lot of the people who seem to be of the light in the loafers mentality, who think it's okay for boys to play girl sports, they're being sucked in, and they don't realize that coexistence will end as soon as they get in power. Unless you can fly and grow wings. Do you see what they've done to that lifestyle over there? But now you got college kids wearing the scarves and, chanting and everything else, and they don't realize there is no coexistence. Either we defeat the deep state now, or they will gain complete control, and humanity will be destined to a life of slavery at the hands of true evil. And that slavery may not be in the terms of shackles or being tied up or somewhere else. It may mean you work for the machine. You work for the deep state. You already do that now. People are like, hey, you're working right now almost half the year to pay taxes. There are so many, and I've shown you some, like Rand Paul, so many spineless Trump supporters saying, we can't get rid of the filibuster because the Dems will abuse it when they are in power. These are people who don't get it. We are already in an all-out war. But there's somebody who does get it. And listen to what he said. I hope that this is the next cut. Listen to this.
A major reason given by the...
No, it's not the next cut. This is Dr. Oz talking about more fraud that they found. Listen to what he points out here in about a minute and a half, how much fraud he's finding.
Democratic Party for the government shutdown is the passionate desire to get rid of the one big beautiful bill that was just signed into law. But that law allows us to ensure that illegal immigrants are not having their health care paid for by the federal government. Turns out, despite allegations that that's not true, it is 100% a truthful statement to say that we're spending money from Washington to care for illegal immigrants around the country. How do I know that? We started investigating the first few states that we thought would be most likely to have done this. And it turns out just in the last few months, it's already $1 billion plus of money that's been spent in states that think that they should provide health care to illegal immigrants. What that means is that if you're a taxpayer in Texas or Florida, your tax dollars could have been used to fund the care of illegal immigrants in California. That's not the law anymore. So we have stopped it. We are...
Now that's very important. That's not the law anymore. You notice whenever Hakeem Jeffries or one of these guys gets out there and talk, they keep saying the big ugly bill. But the big ugly bill to them is because it has completely eviscerated everything they want. And people like Dr. Oz are finding gazillions of pockets of dollars that these people have stolen.
Clawing back that money, we've already gotten hundreds of millions of dollars back, which again, it proves that these states realized that they were guilty because they wouldn't give us the money back otherwise. So that bill, the one big beautiful bill, is absolutely essential to keep the financial integrity of the system in place, to make sure our vulnerable are protected. It cannot be repealed, and that's why the shutdown needs to end. And I'm not trying to insult anybody. I'm just trying to wake people up and understand.
what these people have done, because many of us have short memories. So besides the 2 impeachments, besides the shot, besides all the things they've done, the other guy in a high hide, remember a few years ago, they locked you in your house and said you can't come out because there's this thing that's floating around in the air that you can't even go on a boogie board in the ocean because it may come up after you. A man-made biological weapon. And people are like, you don't realize we're in a war? They try everything. How many people had to pass? You had to wave to your loved ones through a glass window. And you don't think they'd use it on us? They've already been using it on you. They're just doing it a different way right now. So if the Democrats gain control again, it doesn't matter how nice we were to them. Oh, please don't do it to us. We didn't do it to you. They will destroy us. Us, you, me, and our way of life as Americans, regardless of what people are saying right now. This is already their mission if we don't get rid of the filibuster. And if Trump succeeds in his mission of deporting the tens of millions of newcomers and securing elections and draining the swamp and arresting the traitors, the Dems will never win an election again. I don't know why people don't see that. He is putting his plan in place to make sure that these people are eviscerated, obliterated, the deep state, i.e. the Democrats. So why wouldn't we go with the filibuster? I don't think many of you grasp the magnitude of this situation. This is the final battle for the Republic. This is the end game, as I put on my lower third. If we don't win decisively here and now during Trump's term, it's over. If we let this vermin breathe and grow, we're screwed. We must, as President said, completely obliterate the deep state. We have to continue to deport over and over. Tom Holm is talking about doing it 3x what he's doing right now. And then somehow President Trump has to safeguard the elections. How do you think you're going to safeguard the elections? How is he going to be able to make sure when you got judges who just ruled today, hey, you can't even check IDs? Well, if we do all of this, if we do put this stuff in place, they can never win. So being afraid of what they might do shouldn't cause you to not act. I would never go into any sport, any game where I'm like, they might throw a pass. No, I'm not worried about them. I'm running my game plan. I have put together a game plan that tells me what I should do. And if you think the Democrats wouldn't use it against you, I'm just going to say, sit back right now and just tell yourself for the last 10 years what you've seen. Going all the way back to Russiagate. All the way back to the PP tape. All the way back to the Hollywood Access thing. And they dropped that tape. Anything to stop us. So what you're not realizing, you're already in a war. Slap yourself. Wow, yeah, they've been doing some really bad stuff for a long time. In addition to taxing you to all hell and just trying to steal your money. I'm just trying to get people to wake up so we don't lose the world. And more importantly, this country. And luckily we have a man also who believes that and spoke of it just the other day.
Being sarcastic, and it really is not meant in any offense. But when you talk about what could another administration do, to take a wild, hypothetical example totally off the top of my head, what if Joe Biden sent the Federal Bureau of Investigation to start arresting his political opponents?
Check.
Okay? So here's something that I want conservatives, I want every conservative to remember. It's an important part of my entire political philosophy is we cannot be afraid to do something because the left might do it in the future. The left is already going to do it regardless of whether we do it.
That's it. If you trust in Trump and you trust in J.D. Vance, He just gave us the recipe. When I heard that the other night with the Turning Point thing, and I'm in the hotel with Robin, I'm like, oh, I actually got goosebumps. He's telling every single one of us, stop being wussies. Stop thinking, oh my God, they might get mad at me. I don't give a crap about your cocktail parties. No interest anymore. Now it's fully focused on, like he just said, I'm not acting based upon you getting mad.
That is the takeaway of the last 40 years.
Post last night about the filibuster. We just want this to end. They do not deny that the Democrats themselves, that they are prolonging this pain. They admit to it. They said they're using it as leverage. The big question everybody needs to ask this morning is why. They're trying to appeal to the radical left Marxist rise in their party. That is sum total what this entire thing is about. It is infuriating to us.
It should be. It should be infuriating to everybody. I don't expect you to walk around in your life mad all the time. That is not a good existence. That is not something that you should be doing. But you need to be cognizant that you have an enemy. You need to be cognizant that these people want to take your way of life away from you. I saw this post and I just thought this was really interesting. I want to show it to you. I like this guy, Clandestine. The plan to save the Republic. Deployed National Guard, U.S. military, ICE nationwide to safeguard the public and deport the newcomers. That's already happening. Nuke the Senate filibuster. Dems become completely irrelevant, and then we can pass security, voter ID laws, along with the entirety of the MAGA agenda. Trump just said he wants to do this. That was Trump posting a couple days ago, and now Mike Johnson and Thune are both like, oh, we don't need to do it. Yeah, we need to do it. And by the way, just because John Thune says in public that he doesn't want to do it may not be the truth. It may be a smokescreen to keep these people off balance. So I'm going to keep that in the back of my mind. Arrest the traitors who staged a coup against Trump and cleanse the U.S. government of bad actors. This process is already underway. Without their newcomers and election fraud schemes, the Dems will never win an election again and will eventually cease to exist. This is what must be done, and Trump is already putting the pieces into place to make that happen. This is a zero-sum game. We are not going to coexist with communists and Marxists. Not going to happen. Everything about the way you live and how you want to live goes out the window if communists and Marxists take over. It's gone. There is no, hey, let's talk about it. And some of them even tell you what they do with people who don't believe what they believe. They're going to take your money. That's the least of it. They're going to take your property. That's still the least of it. They're going to take your mind. And if that sounds a little far-fetched, I got some books for you to read. And maybe that's what people need to have happen, is to read about some of this stuff. So as he was talking about some of the things that are happening, I'm not sure if you guys saw this. Which window should I pull this up in? Should I pull it up in 36, 34? Okay. Many of you have heard this, and nobody seems to know what exactly is going on. I don't know myself what the answer to this is. I hate reject all. Okay. We know now, and it's been talked about enough, where the National Guard in each state is ordered to create quick reaction forces trained in civil unrest. This came out, the article is 6:00 in the morning today. It said military leaders have ordered the National Guard in every state to develop a quick reaction force of troops trained to deal with civil disturbances and riots that can be ready to deploy with just hours' notice. This latest indication of longer-term Trump administration plans to more readily dispatch soldiers to U.S. streets. A set of memos circulated this month directs Guard units in all 50 states and U.S. territories, except the District of Columbia, because they already got that taken care of, to train a contingent of soldiers in a specialized course that include the proper use of batons, body shields, stun guns, and pepper spray. What do you think is about to happen? Now, what do you think they are training these people in basically hand-to-hand combat and city militia type things? I don't know. But I'm keeping my eye on it, as you should. And I don't mean to scare you. I'm just, if you want to get scared, listen to some of the stuff Zorhan Mandami is saying. Listen to some of the stuff that Fatah in Minneapolis is saying. Listen what AOC is saying. You know what's funny? Because every time I play stuff by these people, I don't want to hear that. Well, maybe you should listen, because that's what they have in store for you. And if you understand that coexistence is never going to happen, you might understand a little bit better. Let's see here. Insurrection Act is coming. That's very possibility. This one reason is why Trump called his generals together. Yeah, I love this one. We need to prevent the Planet of the Apes and Logan's Run scenarios for our kids. Exactly. Everyone get locked and loaded here in Texas. You know, that's one of the first things they'll try to take away. Why would you want to take that away? Yes, you do know, Barry. I was married to a genius too. Well, when you put it like that, where'd that one go? Well, when you put it like that, I guess it might make sense. All I know is that the Dems can never be in power again. So if you know they can never be in power again, if you're absolutely right, we can never let these people go in power again, then what the hell are we waiting for? There's no negotiation with these people. They hate you. They hate your way of life. They hate that you're married. They hate that you have a family. They hate that you go to church. They hate the schools you go to. They probably hate the way we dress. I'm sure they don't want me see me in a shirt like this. They hate what we stand for. You know, if you put a nose ring in and blue hair and decide to, chop your junk off, oh, that's fantastic. How did that all of a sudden just happen? How did we just get into a situation where one day you woke up and you're like, yeah, we got this thing now where people chop off their junk and play for the other team? Whoever did that? It's insidious. It's absolutely insidious. All right, so let me do super chats and then let you guys, hopefully you got some food for thought tonight. Thanks for coming in on a Friday evening. Tomorrow's Saturday. I'm taping a Notre Dame game, so Saturday I usually go at 5 o'clock or so. Yeah, Saturday's at 5. So we shall see you tomorrow at 5. By the way, I missed today because I didn't have it ready. But tomorrow I will give, and I missed yesterday, so we'll give out two silver giveaways tomorrow. Right there. Two. We'll give 2 of these out, and so you guys can do that. All right, let me do super chats. Where is this window? We're gonna go with number 35. All righty. And I really do thank you guys for tuning in. And notice there was no noise in the ceiling. They're done. Jim Barbato, thank you. Metalhead, there was a reason for Obamacare to expire. They wrote it that way. Metalhead again. They plan to stock the Supreme Court. They told you right to your face. We have to put 16 judges up there. Remember, Elon said this is our last chance. It is. Anyone, if you're looking, you can tell. The only people who don't realize that this is our last chance are people who are grown up thinking there's good in people. See, that was a trick, because now it's hard for people who want to see the good in people when they're looking in the face of evil. You know, there was no good when those people parachuted into that concert in Israel. There was no good. They had one intention. One. They didn't want to talk to you. Lisa Kate Sperry, thank you. Keep it up. Thank you very much. Willie, thank you. Metalhead again. Buy silver 1 pound coins and bars every week. Yeah, things could get crazy because they're seeing how good things are, which freaks them out as well. Leon Combs, best news, bro. Thank you, brother. Thank you very much. Kenneth Wright, even if the Democrats pass the CR, it expires again on November 21st, then this crap starts all over again. Yep, all over again. See, I'm glad you said that. I don't know how many people realize that is the case. This is a temporary thing, and they've already blown through like 4 of the weeks out of the 7. Metalhead, Elise Stefanik can go after New York governor. Yeah, and if you live in New Jersey, you got to get out and vote for the Republican. John, I don't know how to say his last name, Charatelli. Please, Mickey Sherrill is a nut job. Same thing in Virginia. Nikki P, they don't need to get rid of the filibuster altogether. Just make it a 51 vote for clean CRs, and any adding or taking away from previously approved spending needs 60. They'll fight that tooth and nail too. Chris Loomis, we cannot afford to give free food and housing to invading newcomers. Agreed. Metalhead again. Thank you. Very time to get off the sidelines and get out in the field, play hardball. That's exactly what we need to do. But in order to do that, you need to understand that you're facing an adversary that wants you gone. Mariah, we so need an avenue to the nuclear route. I agree. Gramps, college students are eligible for SNAP, which are a portion of the number of recipients. Why? Tilly, Heidelberry, Robin, Ashley, Mods, and all my dear sweet fanfare family. Thank you, Tilly. I hope things are going better for you. Patricia, Dems would definitely take out filibusters in a heartbeat. I'm glad you recognize it. Justin, blessings to Barry and this amazing family. Thank you, Justin. Chris Loomis, Barry, the left judges are mobsters. You got that right. Watch what happens. And I want to see what her response is to Trump. I need you to clarify how we're gonna do this. Chris Loomis, power is the end all of the left, not building back America industry and jobs. Just ask a trucker about you just ask them. They never talk about doing anything for people other than giving stuff away. Mary Garrett used Communist Control Act of 1954. That could work. Olga Gomez, hi Barry, your biggest Hispanic fan in Chicago again. Thanks for being a real patriot. Happy Halloween to you and Robin. Now, thank you very much. And I just wanted to say to you guys, I know some people are like kind of wigged out about Halloween. I'm talking about it in a good way. When like the kids in the neighborhood come over for candy, and they're little kids, and all the parents outside have tables out in front of their houses. It's just a nice festive activity. Metalhead, there is MK Ultra to the max. Absolutely. Chris Loomis, Rep. Johnston is correct. Temporary. That's how it's supposed to be. Chai Chapo, do unto others before they do unto you. Exactly. Metalhead, well, you got 3 of them in a row here. Venezuelans about voter fraud. Yep. Remember, DJT said he got them all. Yep, and he said that a number of times. If we fall, there is no free speech. Completely agree with you. Hey, Captain Danny. Born on the 4th, thank you, Barry and the team, for great work and dedication. Some problems are too much apathy and misinformation. How does society get past it? Cloward Piven. Well, I think you just told people how to. Because if right now, there's probably some people who don't know what Cloward Piven is. They need to go look that up. Educate yourselves. That's what you need to do. Patricia Kuhn, the line has been drawn, good versus evil. To exist, you must defend and act, not roll over and react. What is the best for everyone means stand up, defend, and be strong. To that end, watch out for people tomorrow who might be frail or vulnerable. If this thing happens where they're indeed going to try and rob people, they're going to need some people to help. Where'd that go? Born on the 4th. Where'd that go? Okay. Metalhead, they have imported $20 million for their fight. They did. Born on the 4th. Check out a book about communism called Animal Farm by George Orwell. A good read and eye-opening. I would have hoped that every single one of you have read Animal Farm. I was like required reading when I was a sophomore. Neo, hello, happy Halloween, Barry team. Let the nuclear plan drop, praying we can end this madness. Yep, fully behind you. Patricia Kuhn, can't JD overrule Thune about the filibuster? All right, so JD's the vice president, but he's the president of the Senate, but he's not the one who brings bills to the Senate floor. That is John Thune. Metalhead again. Idaho special tag, white-tailed deer, love life. Thank you. Tilly Berry, thank you for caring about us and helping us understand this craziness. Thank you. Thank you very much. G. Fisher, great show always. Thank you. Long name. Who loved that? Soup lines with military personnel serving the public. Brat Girl, happy Halloween, everyone. Happy Halloween. Soul Rack, Jay is a blind person. If I have few money on food stamps, do they still work the next day? Yeah, I don't think food stamps expire, or maybe a month later, but if you don't spend them like Monday, they don't go away on Tuesday. And Mountain Goddess, you are appreciated. You are appreciated as well, Mountain Goddess. All right, everybody, have a great Saturday evening. Actually, Friday evening. I jumped ahead there. Friday evening. And I shall see you tomorrow, Saturday afternoon. Thank you.